Okay, and welcome back to the Tackle King fishing channel. Today I'm going to do my first session of fishing at Shaftsbury Park. It's a 10.9 metre tide today. I'm a couple of hours before high tide, so I've got plenty of time to sort out. And let's just have a quick look around the area. I mean, I've come here because Coronation Park is going to start closing. I'm not sure about the fishing licence requirements here. I think you're okay, but I've sent an email to Natural Resources Wales to find out for certain. I've got a fishing licence anyway, but what I'm more concerned with is the closed season. Obviously, in tidal fishing and sea fishing, there's no closed season. But if this is classed as river and not tidal, then there will be a closed season. So I've just got to wait back and hear from Natural Resources Wales on that. Yeah, as I said, it's a 10.9 metre tide, so it's not the lowest of tides, but it's certainly not the highest of tides. And it'll be interesting to see how far the water will come up here, because it's quite low down at the moment. Will it come up high enough for me to be able to fish out okay? I don't know. This is why it's the first time here. But it looks relatively snag free if I keep out over that way and go further out. There's a couple of like that, those bushes there which might get snagged up, so I'll stay away from there. But apart from that, it looks relatively snag free. Now if the tide can come up a fair bit more, then I think we'll be okay. I mean, you can see the water moving quite rapidly now. Maybe 2 hours till high tide, so we'll see what happens. Well, I'm planning on going straight out into the middle of the one rod, but I'm quite interested in seeing what might happen here in this little inlet. If fish are coming in here, then they're coming to feed, so I might drop a second rod in just there. I brought 2 rods with me today. I normally only take 1, but I thought I'd bring 2, and we'll see what happens if I drop down somewhere in the middle of there. Well, I'm not sure how busy the park's going to get. Hopefully not too busy. When I'm fishing, I do tend to be a little bit antisocial, but it is quite a big park with playing fields and that. Now that down there leads to Quinoa Pill, which runs along there, which is sort of a channel from the estuary. And it's there, just on the other side of there, and that Newport Marina was going to be developed, or there were plans for a study for having a marina. It looks really nice in the plans. It's all going to be landscaped, new flats, river walkway. I think the walkway was going to connect up to the one in the town centre, and cafes and bars. And I think the plan was eventually to connect the Pill up to the Brecon Monmouthshire Canal, so you have a complete connection into the waterways. Never happened though. It was just a proposal and a study. Okay, I've decided that I'm going to sort of base myself here, because if I get a fish on, I can come down a little way to there, and it's less likely to harm the fish when I bring it in to release it. It's quite a big drop down there, and I don't think the water's going to come up that high. So I think this is going to be quite a nice location where I've got the ability to go down and release a fish if needed. So let's get set up and get the line cast out. Right, we've got our first cast out. I think, looking at the current, next time I come here I'll probably bring some heavier weights. I've only brought some 3 and 4 ounce, and I didn't bring any grippers, and I think you're going to need a gripper to hold bottom here because the current is quite strong. Okay, I've got both lines out now. I've put the smaller rod into that pool area where there's not such a rip current, on the basis that if fish are feeding, they like to go to stiller water, and that looks fairly still. So hopefully might get something down there. The other main line is cast out quite a way. There is a strong rip coming in. The heaviest weight I've got is a 4 ounce, and it's not really holding the bottom that well at all. So I think you definitely need to come out with grippers and probably 5 or 6 ounce weights to have any hope of keeping your bait down on the bottom. Well, both rods are out, so let's see what's going to happen. This smaller rod that I've just dropped into the pool where there's a slack area of water is holding really well with just a 1 ounce weight. Hopefully if any sort of fish come into there to feed, because they do like to feed on slack water, we might get a chance of getting a nibble. I've added an extra ½ ounce onto this main sea fishing rod. Doesn't seem to be making much of a difference. I think you probably need 6 or 7 ounces of gripper on it to hold bottom. This is halfway up to Chepstow now. I mean, it's just been ripped up by the tide. But we have what we have and we do what we can do. Okay, back to the river. I don't think I'd fish this below an 11-metre tide. And you can fish it sort of 90 minutes either side of high tide. Now that's not because you can't get to the water, it's because of the location. You're quite high up, and if you're fishing for catch and release, it's really full of well-feathered fish because you're going to have to drag it across some quite rough ground on the lower waters. So if you're catching for catch and release, 90 minutes either side of the tide and minimum of 11 metres. Of course, if you're catching fish full of pot, then anything goes really. But this 1 ounce weight is holding really well in this pool area. It seems like this main rod has found a location to bed into. Definitely fish around. I've seen a couple of jump. Silverfish. Couldn't quite make out what they were because I didn't have my long distance glasses on. But definitely silverfish jumping around. So there are stuff around here. It's just, can I get my first fish on video today? I don't know. I haven't yet caught a fish on video. They never seem to bite then, but that's the way fishing goes. Well, we've been out for about an hour. Nothing that I would call a bite yet. We've had a little bit of movement on the tip on the smaller rod, which is going out into that pool. But not definite enough for me to class it as a bite for me to strike on. But I do hope the summer comes quick, because it is still pretty cold out here today. Just another one jump out that way, and jumping out towards that pool area. So I think the tactic might be right, because fish do like to feed in slack water. And these little bays and pools that you get along down in Shaftsbury Park are the perfect locations for fish to come together to feed. I've obviously got the wrong bait on today. But I don't think it's the right time of year for bass. And I think it's too early for sea trout. So what those fish are, I don't know. But they're probably about that big, silver, quite streamlined, and jumping. Well, it's all a bit of a blur because I've only brought my reading glasses with me today, so I can't see sharply that far out. That's the way it goes. But it is very pleasant down here, even though it is cold. I mean, I've cast it out and brought it in about 3-4 times in the last sort of hour and a bit. It doesn't seem to be much snagging, although they do get caught up a little bit, and it's bringing in a little bit of a vegetation when I reel in, but it's not snagging as such. Yeah, it takes a bit of effort to get that weight out of the mud because of the suction of the mud. We do seem to have the off-roaders coming out now for some reason. I'm quite sure where they're going to go to. Probably off down Cleveland's Park or somewhere. Cleveland seems to be a bit of a Sunday morning haunt for the kids. That current started to die down a little bit now, and I'm holding the bottom better. So we must be getting very close to high tide. I'm seeing those fish, but I ain't getting them on the hook. It's a real nice location to be. A lot of bird life. You can hear the birds singing. You can smell the exhaust fumes of the motorbikes. Great place to be. I quite like the River Usk in Newport at the moment. They've got some really nice new apartments being built with balconies overlooking the river. If you catch it on a nice sunny day with the tide in, I'm sure it's going to be a really nice viewpoint. As I said earlier, just over the other side here by the Quinault Pill was where they were going to build a marina. And if you look at the artist impressions, they look really, really nice. Nice apartment blocks. Underneath it, you got your cafes for sitting outside. Nice big walkway. Few jetties going out. And of course, you got a connection up to the canal, the Brecon-Monmouthshire Canal. Not sure why it didn't go through. Probably to do with the ecology, because the River Usk is down this part of a site of special scientific interest because of the mud flats and that. The marina would only have been a tidal marina, but even so, it would have brought a lot of boost to the area. I suppose with the Brecon-Monmouthshire Canal, it would have been a concern with boats bringing in things like mussels and other types of invasive species. At the moment, the Brecon-Monmouthshire Canal is cut off and has always been cut off from the rest of the British waterways. So it's got quite a unique ecology. I suppose if they're connected up and made in an open access, you're going to get boats coming up and down the canal, and anything that's on the hull would invade it. But it's a shame we don't have a marina in Newport. I've heard there's going to be a hydrofoil service along the Usk from the centre of Newport out to Cardiff, and also in the other way, I think it's Bristol or Western. That would be quite interesting. Whether that comes about or not, I don't know. You hear all sorts of things about the plans on the River Usk. Very little actually comes to fruition. But it would have been nice to have a marina. Probably been a little bit far out of town. But if they put in a big walkway all the way down along the Usk to the city centre, it would have been a nice walk. Okay, so definitely now that's slack water. So we are at high tide. Can't see much movement at all. Haven't seen any fish jumping for about 15 minutes. So things are quiet. We'll see if we can catch anything as the tide flows out in a little bit. Right, so the tide's on its way out now quite quickly. So what's my experience of the first time fishing in Shaftsbury Park? It's all right. Nothing to write home about. I don't really get a vibe, so I don't think this is going to be a replacement. It's certainly not a patch on Coronation Park. So I may come back occasionally, but it's not going to be a regular fishing spot. I might try it in the summer when we've got a few more fish species around. I mean, it's February, so there's not much fish anywhere. So I might come back a little bit later, maybe April, May, and see what's around then. It's not going to be a regular place. Now that Coronation Park's closed, it's highly likely that the car showroom or the car sales place down on the Western Orbital is going to become the replacement place to go. That said, I have done a recce video about Monkey Island, but I've not done any fishing there yet. So that's going to be the next place on my cards, I think. Let's get down to Monkey Island, do a session fishing there, and see what that's like. It's a lot lower down the River Usk, a lot more downstream, and just above Coronation Park, so it's going to be a lot nicer, I assume. But this is all right. I mean, nothing particularly bad about it. Relatively snag-free, relatively quiet. Lots of dog walkers, but that's about all. But it's February, so there's not much in the way of fish around at all. So I might try it again, like I say, in April or May and see what's there. But overall, it's just a pleasant place to be for a few hours. But probably not my favourite location. So that's it. If you want to see more, please like, subscribe and share. And next time, we may see you down at Monkey Island, down in Pill in Newport.